Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be reacting to a portion of a video from Tim Pool's IRL YouTube channel where they talk about and discuss the autopen expose from the New York Times. I think this shouldn't be an expose. I think this is something that everybody kind of knew, and it was widely spoke about, that the majority of the things that Joe Biden was putting into law or executive order wasn't actually coming from him or wasn't being signed by him. It was his staffers. And also he did not sign or approve any of the pardons that he did at the end of his term as president. If you want to watch Tim Pool's full uninterrupted video without my thoughts, comments, and opinions, go ahead and click the link below in the description or the pinned comment in the comment section. Let's go ahead and check out the video. But before any of that, over 98% of daily consumers to this channel have yet to subscribe. If you can do me the huge favor of hitting that sub button, I greatly appreciate it. And with that, let's get into it.
Biden says he made the clemency decisions that were recorded with autopen. Whew. I was worried there for a minute. You know, I thought for a second that Biden didn't actually do it. Oh, let me actually scroll down more than halfway through the story to find this. Mr. Biden did not individually approve each name for the categorical pardons that applied to large numbers of people. He and aides confirmed. Rather, after extensive discussion with different possible criteria, he signed off on the standards he wanted to be used to determine which convicts would qualify for a reduction in sentence. Even after Mr. Biden made the decision, one former aide said, the Bureau of Prisons kept providing additional information about specific inmates, resulting in small changes to the list. Rather than ask Mr. Biden to keep signing revised versions, his staff waited and then ran the final version through the autopen, which they saw as routine. So they buried that halfway down.
What I see as a major issue is the fact that the expose says they saw it as routine. So that means this was a common occurrence. You know, you can't sign any documents for anybody else. It is legally void. Unless you are said as, you know, a power of attorney or anything like that, or they're in some kind of situation like with Britney Spears where her father had full control of her finances or anything like that. Other than those specific situations, you cannot sign for other people. It makes those documents void, as far as I know. Let's say they were this routine, right? They normally did this. That means he did not have the capacity to review or even understand what was going on in these documents. Why was that person allowed to continue being president? Don't get me wrong. I don't think Kamala Harris would have been a step up, but this was a person that did not have their mental fortitude, mental faculties to such a level to where they could make a decision on whether to pardon someone or not. It is absurd that this was allowed to go on. I don't know what kind of charges someone would get for something like this, a crime like this, but this is a crime nonetheless. These staffers thought they were doing what was best for the country or what was just or right or whatever virtuous reason they want to give, but this is a crime.
But there's a lot more. There's one. Let me see if I can get this one. This one's massive. This is the actual smoking gun. Mr. Biden completed the list of high-profile clemency decisions over 2 meetings, the emails show. One on January 18th included Mr. Zients, I don't know if is that how you pronounce it, Mr. Siskel, another aide, Bruce Reed. Another on the evening of January 19th, his final night as president, was with Mr. Siskel. They say the emails show that Mr. Biden added the preemptive pardons for his family at the January 19th meeting. They also suggest that he changed some of his thinking, but there's more. The emails show that an aide to Mr. Siskel sent a draft summary of Mr. Biden's decision at that meeting to an assistant to Mr. Zients, copying Mr. Siskel at 10:03 p.m. The assistant forwarded it to Mr. Reed and Mr. Zients, asking for their approval, and then sent a final version to Ms. Feldman, copying many meeting participants and aides at 10:28. 3 minutes later, Zients hit reply all and wrote, I approve the use of the autopen for the execution of all of the following pardons.
There we go. That's the biggest issue that I see. So this Mr. Zients, I don't know how that's pronounced. I mean, I have no clue, but it's Jeffrey. His first name is Jeffrey, I do believe. Jeffrey Zients. That seems to be the person that was running the country, essentially. If he's the one giving out approval for these documents or for these things to be signed, he is the, facto president. He is the one making the decisions, especially if this is happening at 10:30 p.m. very late into the night, and he's giving final authority. What, we did not elect this person. This person is not a official. He's not the president, and yet he is the one that gets to make the decisions. It is absolutely insane. We did not elect or vote or even knew who this person was.
That means between 10:03, 10:28, and then 3 minutes later, 10:31, there was no possible time for this staffer to go to Joe Biden and say, are these pardons confirmed? In fact, this guy who I've never heard of, Mr. Zients, approved pardons to the staff who used the autopen. Void. They should all be void. I don't know how this is crazy. The president can't delegate away pardon powers, at least as far as I know.
Yeah, Biden's asleep by 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Biden was definitely not awake at 10:48 p.m., 10:38.
Now, here's the big hammer. The lead of the story that should have been the first sentence. Mr. Biden granted Hunter Biden a full pardon in December 2024. It was the only clemency warrant in that period that Mr. Biden signed with his own hand.
Wow.
That's the lead story. Aides confirm Biden did not sign off on the individual pardons.
It's evil.
So what does this mean for like the Fauci pardon? You know, like Fauci was pardoned indefinitely for any thing he might have done wrong with the COVID-19 vaccination rollout, with the with the gain of function research that was done in China at the behest of California, or at the behest of the United States government, using Eco Alliance or whatever this. I think Fauci, Dr. Fauci, was the head of Eco Alliance or was running it, and he gave the donation or the money or grant to this lab in China, Wuhan, where, you know, most likely the COVID-19 virus originated.
I'm curious if he did the pardon with the auto pen for the judge who was getting kickbacks for Cash for Kids. You know about that story?
Yeah,
The guy in Pennsylvania?
yeah.
It's an insane story that guy got pardoned as well, but that's what they do at the end, just like Bill Clinton pardoning Weather Underground terrorists.
That was actually a huge story, maybe in the early 2000s, of a judge that was, you know, giving harsher sentences to minors and extending their time, you know, making it you know, the maximum you can get for crimes. And some of the crimes were, you know, petty theft or, you know, I believe marijuana possessions or anything like that. But this private prison was giving kickbacks or donations to the judge. And I do believe it was two other judges as well, if I'm not mistaken. This is an old story, but where they were, and I believe some of those minors died in custody. I don't quote me on that, but I do believe some. I mean, obviously, sometimes kids will, or anyone will die in the prison system. Will, you know, some for whatever reason, attack or what have you. But you know, to pardon a fucking monster like that is absolutely insane.
I mean, Trump did it.
Yeah, I know. I think it should be
Like that
totally
rapper.
banned. Yeah.
We were like, what about Snowden or like Ross
Assange.
Ulbricht or Assange?
Yeah.
Ross Ulbricht, I think, is the Pirate Bay guy,
Yeah. So President Trump has said many times, whoever
or the Onion, or what the Tor, the fucking that lets you, you know, dark web stuff, whatever. He started Pirate Bay. He was that Dread Roberts or whatever, the guy Fox Mask, I think, or I'm not sure. Something
Controlling
like that.
the auto-
Not the guy Fox Mask. It's I don't know whatever. It's the Pirate Bay guy.
and that's who the president was. So according to those emails back and forth, Mr. Zients was the acting president, because if he has the authority to say, I approve this, let's whip out the auto pen, then you've approved the pardon. I was doing some quick math, and I had to Google this one. There are 84,000 seconds in a day. All right, so that was my starting point. 84,000 seconds in a day. On that one day, he pardoned 1,500 people. If he gave every one of those people 1 minute of time, that's 90,000 seconds. So, and you cannot physically spend an entire day looking through those. So
I don't have a problem with staffers helping. Obviously, the president has so many things to do, right? He cannot complete all the things he needs to complete. But they were trying to blanket pardon all these, you know, people for whatever reasons, whatever motivations. Also, this puts into the media, legacy media, you know, mainstream media, with a huge crosshairs over them, because they for years did not confirm, would avoid the fact that Joe Biden's mental acuity was on a steep down curve. He possibly had cancer throughout his whole, term as president. But all these things were not exposed, not addressed, not because Joe Biden was such a great leader or such a fantastic president and so many good things happened, but because the Democrats are engulfed like they are legacy media. Legacy media will bend at the hip, of course, not including Fox, whatever. But the majority of legacy media will bend to whatever the Democratic Party says, as far as spitting in our faces when we can obviously see that the president is in obvious mental failure, which is terrible. It's sad. I feel sorry for the old man. If that was my grandfather or my great grandfather, whatever, if that was my grandparent and I saw them at the level of, mental capacity, and I'm like, this is elder abuse. And it was all for the deep state to keep, doing what the deep state does. It is absolutely shocking that now so late that they're like, oh, we're now, this isn't exposed. It's like, it's not exposed. This is, you got to expose in the moment. This is just letting us know what everyone was already thinking and seeing. So it's like, hey, we exposed this thing. It's like, expose it. We all knew it. At least if you were in the right side or if you were listening to alternative media. I mean, besides mainstream media.
He didn't even get 1 minute. So if I'm president, they're like, you should pardon Tim Pool. Let me see his file, right? Tim Pool deserves at least a minute. No, the American people deserve at least a minute of me as president reviewing whether or not I give Tim Pool a pardon. He didn't even get that. 1,500 people were just freaking run through the machine, and someone else just added their names to that. And that is such a violation of everything we hold sacred that you're absolutely right. They are all null and void. And now those who are null and void are also should return to jail. And if you were not in jail and you got one of the preemptive pardons, well, now you're up for criminal prosecution.
I feel bad for there's at least some people who.
This is pretty much all of what I wanted to cover. It wasn't a huge clip. Now they kind of get into, the opinions, and I want to give my opinions more than anything. I believe that any staffer that was doing these things was absolutely colluding. We like to talk about coups and, overthrowing the government when it comes to January 6th. Things like that. We like to say that Trump almost usurped power from the duly elected president. These staffers and these people that were in the administration, that was the real coup. They actually usurped power from the sitting president. They were making all the decisions. There was policies about natural oil. Maybe I'll play that portion because they talk about natural oil, how they questioned Joe Biden, asked him about natural oil, and that he had stopped all drilling, and he had no clue that he had signed that policy into effect. It was news to him that natural oil production had stopped in the U.S. He had no idea. So who signed that? Who were the people making decisions? Who were these leftists, these progressives, these ideologues that were like, no, we don't want more natural oil being produced in the United States, so we're going to go ahead and sign a executive order saying that is now outlawed. That is usurping power. That is a coup. When your own administration is deciding what is best and saying you are relegated to, the old folks home and say, okay, go ahead, president, go ahead and go to bed early and take a nap. That is the true overtake of a presidency. That is the true overtake of the leader of the United States, not January 6th. This was the true coup attempt. When a president is no longer the one making the decisions, we all have to be shocked and alarmed. And the real alarming thing is that we allowed someone with such poor mental capacity to not even run the country, but be a puppet, a figurehead, a scapegoat almost to these, policy changes and rule changes and executive orders. This was absolutely atrocious. But that's pretty much all the time we have for now. If you like the video, please like. If you disagree or you dislike it, or you think that this is absolutely okay, we should do more things like this, comment down below. Let me know. I'm down to argue. I'm down to debate. But that's all the time we have for now. If you like the video, please like it. Share this video. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, hopefully by the end of this year. But when you talk about controversial topics or give takes that the majority of sometimes will disagree with, well, you know, growth is slow. But once again, that's all for now. Till next time. Later.